undefeated, knocks people out, nasty striker. They'll both stand up and bang.
Was it? I mean, it's a pretty big jump for him, though, right?
We gave him a little nog.
Yeah.
A little nog and turned the fight down.
It's a pretty big jump for Manawa. Can you just kind of take us through the decision-making process? Was there anybody else you considered? Or?
No, that's it. Yeah, a little nog. We considered a little nog, and he couldn't take it.
What expectations do you have from this fight, Manawa against Gustafsson? What can Manawa count for if he wins?
Well, what is Manawa? 11-0?
Yeah.
He's 11-0. You know, both these guys are strikers. I think it's going to be a stand-up war. And I think anything is possible. This happens all the time. The same fucking thing people said about Gustafsson. Oh, Gustafsson's going to fight fucking John Jones. John Jones is going to kill him. Okay.
You know?
John, I love you. You're not a matchmaker. Fight your fight. He'll fight his fight. And don't worry about it. When are we going to do an Ultimate Fighter Mexico? Is that what you're asking me? We're working on that right now. Yeah. We've got a bunch of talent lined up. We're working on it right now.
Verdun and Velasquez are probably the coaches. Could be.
It would make a lot of sense. Yeah, it would make a lot of sense.
Great.
We'll see. Although a couple Brazilians have swung on Vanderlei, on Chael Sonnen too. So we'll take care of him.
Did he voice that to you when he first agreed?
He didn't. Didn't even flinch. Not even a little bit. He said, I would love to go down there and do the Ultimate Fighter.
All the other TV stuff he does, who's going to fill in for him?
Who's going to what? Fill in for him? I know. That's a good question. He's pretty popular.
This weekend there was a bunch of UFC guys down in Russia for some Pro Cops fight. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, no.
Pro Cop kind of was very critical of him because like a lot of them stood in front of like this company's like logo and like took pictures and stuff, and he
Yeah,
kind of
some rich guys flying everybody else.
He thought you would be really upset about that for some reason.
Crow Cop did?
Yeah. Did you care?
No. Was he trying to make me upset?
No, he was just saying he was like he's like if I was Dana I would be furious. I would fire every one of them. That's what he said.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No. They all went there to honor Crow Cop?
They all went down there for the fight. For this organization, I just invited them.
This is what I heard. There's some rich guy out there in Russia that likes to fly all the fighters out there and stuff. Good for them, man. If some fucking billionaire wants to fly them around and pay them, that's awesome. Why would I be mad at that? It's good. But I like Crow Cop. Crow Cop's always been a good dude.
Any news on signing Ben Askren?
Am I what?
Any news on signing Ben Askren?
No. Was I signing him? Nope.
Maybe.
I don't think so. Not me.
Dana, does the injury of Minotauro gets you frustrated like another injury and he doesn't get to fight again?
Yeah. It's first of all, the fight isn't for 4 months, and he's determined that he's already hurt. I don't understand that.
You didn't talk to him?
No, didn't talk to him. Guy's always hurt. I mean, every time you call him, he's hurt.
When you guys first set it up, though, I mean, he said he was okay. And then
No. So what happened was that night we decided to make the fight. Gustafsson said yes, and they couldn't get a hold of him, so I said fuck it and just went with it and announced the fight, and of course he's hurt.
Dana, what do you think about main event between Brazilians in Brazil as before against Lyoto Machida, for example? Do you plan it, or do you think it's better to a Brazilian against other person from USA?
Well, if we do, it's going to be tough. If Anderson wins the title, it's going to be tough to not do a Brazilian. I mean, it's going to be Anderson versus Vitor. But, you see these situations where down here they like to see a Brazilian fight somebody from another country. But in the co-main event, the two Brazilians that fought, they got pretty into that fight. The two big guys in the fight meant a lot, and they picked their favorite, and so it's going to happen. It can't always be Brazilian versus another country. There's going to be times when it ends up Brazilian versus Brazilian. And I think in this country, people have their opinions right now of Vitor and Anderson Silva. This last press tour I did down here with you guys, Anderson was getting blasted.
You believe that TRT could be an issue with Anderson versus Weidman? Anderson refused to fight Vitor in Brazil and chose to fight him in Las Vegas. That Vitor wouldn't be able to do TRT before the fight.
That's not true. That's completely not true. There's no reason why Vitor Belfort can't fight in Las Vegas or anywhere else in the United States. And Vitor Belfort has not been abusing TRT. In a million fucking years, I would never let that happen. Ever. Dan and Vitor were both on TRT.
Sure, but if Las Vegas athletic commission doesn't allow him to do it.
The Las Vegas commission is. I just filmed. I don't even want to get into this right now, but you know me. I just filmed an episode of The Ultimate Fighter the other day. The Nevada commission is so bad. So bad. Wait till you see this next season and this episode airs. So bad.
We're just talking about like a judging error, or
Wait till you fucking see this. Wait till you see it, man. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
But what do you do if they do take a stand? If Nevada takes a stand and says, we're just not giving it to this guy because he had the 2006 issue? I mean, you take the fight somewhere else?
You start looking at all the other guys, all the other fighters in boxing that have had issues and have been allowed to fight in the state of Nevada, and you call bullshit on it.
Do you think that, like, if Anderson beats Weidman and he doesn't get hurt and he's ready to go, it will be an issue to convince him to fight Victor again?
I don't know, man. You're talking hypotheticals. We got to see what happens. My zipper's down. Excuse me. Wonder how long that's been down.
There's been a little backlash against Ronda Rousey from Ultimate Fighter. People just, the way she's like portrayed herself, I guess. Are you concerned like how that's going to affect her drawing power?
It's not the way she's portrayed herself. It's who she is. It's why women fight in the UFC, because of her.
Are you?
I could care less. I could care less if you don't like her or like her. Doesn't matter to me. She's the world champion and she's badass and she goes out to win. From the day I met her, we were literally, when we were flying here on the plane, one of our financial guys says something about, do you think the women's division, basically asking if the women's division would have got started without, I said, I wouldn't have done it without Ronda. I wouldn't even have done it without Ronda. You could line up all the greatest girls on earth from here to fucking Pluto. And she's the one that when I met her, I said, this chick is insanely competitive and just a different animal. And she's what it took to get women in the UFC. Hate her or not, the reason all these girls now fight in the UFC is because of her.
Did you even consider when Gina Carano was competing?
I didn't. You know, and that's the big thing. You know, in the beginning, everybody said I had a crush on Ronda Rousey. Like, are you fucking serious? Yeah, I have a crush on her, so I started women's MMA in the UFC. Gina Carano was hot too. You didn't see me, bringing her into the UFC. I didn't. Ronda Rousey is a different animal. She's a different animal, I'm telling you. And I know her a lot better than all of you do. You know, on the flip side, to all the craziness with Ronda, she's an absolute 100% professional, man. Like when she went and shot these movies, she fucking studied hardcore. You know, they were telling her she was better than all the guys because that's the way she is. She's a competitor and she wants to be the best. And the thing is, with her and Misha, she hates Misha Tate. When her and Kat Zagano were going to be the coaches, you heard them talk at the podium with mutual respect. She hates Misha Tate, hates her. And anybody who's ever hated somebody before knows how that feels. I've hated a couple people in my life, so I kind of know how that feels, And yes, when you hate somebody, you might stoop low and do some things that make you look like a jackass. But oh well.
Since this is the 20th anniversary week, can you tell us what your favorite UFC memory is? Is it still Hughes Trigg 2? Or?
You know what? That Hughes Trigg 2 thing stood for so long, but now after this last year, seriously think about this. This is the 20th anniversary of the UFC. It would be hard to debate that this has been the greatest year of fights in the history of the UFC. Anderson Silva, Weidman won, and we're going to get 2 the same year, right? We had Dan Henderson and Shogun. We had friggin' Melendez and Sanchez. One of the sickest things I've ever seen. the Dos Santos fights with Kane, the last two, you know. The Jones Gustafsson fight, the Henderson Pettis fight, that entire card in Houston, you know, the entire card in the fight for the troops the other night was awesome. The list goes on and on. It's probably been the greatest year in the history, at least in the history of Zuffa. You know, it's been the greatest year.
We got to pick one moment though.
One moment. One moment. It's so hard to pick one moment. There's been so many. Now you're. Are you asking moments, milestones? There's so many
Whatever
milestones.
it is for you personally.
I'd still. If I had to pick one, I'd still have to go with season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter. Because I know what was really on the line.
And is Nick Diaz still on your radar? I mean,
Nick Diaz is retired. Talked to his manager last week.
because it came out some comments recently saying the right money, he'd be interested, but the manager says he's retired.
Talked to his manager last week. He is retired.
Were you offering him a fight? Was there a reason you reached out to him?
Yeah, I wanted to offer him a fight.
Which fight?
I don't remember. Huh?
Probably happening in São Paulo in Arena Palestra. That's what you were waiting for.
Say that again.
The fight in the stadium, would you consider it in São Paulo in Arena Palestra, or was that what you're thinking?
We'd have to get together with the group and figure that out. I don't know I don't know the Brazil landscape enough to pick an arena. You know, we hired a lot of smart people down here that would come up with that.
Did you actually get around to offering Nick the fight, or did they just cut you off?
I made the
before?
offer
Oh,
to
you
them, and they came back. He called me back and said he's retired.
Dan Henderson and Paulo Thiago get another chance.
Yeah. I said at the press conference, Dan Henderson, when he was going to the hospital, he said, I want to stay with the UFC. I said, let's talk in a couple weeks. And then I love Paulo Thiago, man. That guy's such a tough guy. I like him. So we'll see what happens. I don't make those calls tonight.
What did you think of Brandon Thatcher's win? He seems
Stud. Fucking stud. Especially how good he looked, and especially who he was fighting. You know what I mean? And what he did to who he was fighting. I have a lot of respect for Thiago. So that kid's a stud, and he hunted him down, stayed right in his face. Kid knocked it. Paulo Thiago knocked out Koscheck, and who else did he brutalize? Swick. Choked Swick, right? Yeah. And this kid stays right in his face, keeps going after him. I like this kid. I'm going to Rio.